Madam President, I'm glad the presiding officer is in the chair because committed as I know she is to solving real problems, the legislation that we are going to pass here momentarily by unanimous consent has been 7 years in the making, but will actually address the problem of high drug prices. In the last few years, I've heard certainly from my constituents in Texas about the struggle to obtain their medication at affordable cost. It's not because no treatment exists or because they don't have insurance or because it's a brand new drug that just hit the market. Many patients can't afford prescriptions they've been taking for years because the prices continue to go up. And there's little evidence of anything to justify those price increases. I've heard heartbreaking stories about patients leaving their prescriptions unfilled simply because they can't afford it, rationing doses of blood pressure medication and traveling across the international border to Mexico to get certain medications at a lower price. The problem is when you go to Mexico to get your medication, it may look like the same medication you take in the United States, but chances are it may well be counterfeit. So that's a real problem in and of itself. But these challenges have been compounded by high inflation under President Biden's policies. We know everything has gone up in cost, an average of 20% over the last 3 years. Groceries, gas, rent, just about everything is more expensive today than it was when President Biden took office. Senators from both sides of the aisle on a bipartisan basis have offered a number of bills to try to get at this problem of high drug prices. One of these is a bipartisan bill that I introduced with Senator Richard Blumenthal from Connecticut called the Affordable Prescriptions for Patients Act. This legislation addresses one of the most egregious practices contributing to high drug prices, which is patent abuse. Our country offers robust protection for intellectual property. In other words, if you're going to do the research and development and go to the expense and take the risk associated with creating something new and innovative, like a new drug to treat a deadly disease, our laws allow the right to sell that drug on an exclusive basis for a period of time. I think it's very important to incentivize that sort of innovation and research, and it produces life-saving drugs. We know that many companies are unlikely to pour expensive resources into discovering new cures if at the end of it, they can't even recoup their own costs, much less make a profit. That's where our patent system comes in. It's as old as our country is old. The patent system provides a limited time period for the manufacturer to be the sole seller in the marketplace before a generic version can become available. But some companies are abusing the system. They're taking extreme steps to maintain their exclusivity for a drug and keep the money rolling in. One way they do this is through a practice known as patent thicketing. This involves creating intricate webs of patents to keep the competition at bay as long as possible, because as long as you can continue to sell these drugs on an exclusive basis, the money's going to keep coming in, and it will not go generic and result in competition from others. The Affordable Prescriptions for Patients Act aims to stop this anti-competitive behavior and allow new drugs to come to market sooner. That's how we improve competition and ultimately lower prices for patients without standing in the way of innovation. The added benefit to this bill is the federal savings that it would provide for taxpayers. The Congressional Budget Office has estimated that this bill would lead to lower federal spending by $1.8 billion over 10 years. At a time when our national debt is at an all-time high, approaching $35 trillion, anything we can do to help deal with that rising debt, I think, should be regarded as a positive. And this is just the savings to the federal government for Medicare and Medicaid. There will undoubtedly be significant savings for consumers who have private health insurance on top of that. This bipartisan legislation checks every box. It protects innovation, it increases competition, and it saves money for taxpayers and consumers. And most importantly, it lowers prices at a time when many patients are seeing their drug prices go up and up and up, apparently without end. I can't imagine why anybody would oppose such a piece of legislation. Election Day is 4 months away, and the Senate's only scheduled to be in session for 20 days between now and then, including today. Patients in Texas and across the country are asking their elected representatives to do something to address these high drug prices, and it's time for the Senate to deliver